So welcome to the NEMSIS V3 implementation call, April 22nd. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us. We've got a pretty full schedule, but we do want you to feel welcome to bring up discussion points, ask questions, unmute yourself, or use the chat feature. We'll have team members watching the chat box to be able to make sure that your questions and comments are being discussed. We do appreciate the conversation and the input. It really is very meaningful to us when you contribute and help us see your experience with EMS data. So we really do appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and get started with Kevin White on the ILI dashboard. Kevin, do you want the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Here we are. So really quick update. We're with the ILI dashboard. We are now up to 40 states that are sharing this information, which is just really phenomenal. We'd like to thank everyone for doing their part and helping us out with this dashboard. I'd particularly like to call out New Jersey, New Mexico, Wisconsin, and Washington State, who, since we last met 2 weeks and a lifetime ago, have agreed to share their data. If you would like some help getting your state on board, please contact anyone here at the NEMSIS TAC, either myself, Dr. Mann, Monet, or Julianne, and we can definitely help you out with that. Thank you very much, Julianne.
All right, let's go ahead and go back to the agenda. Clay, you had a couple of things you wanted to share?
Yeah, related to the influenza-like surveillance dashboard, I just wanted to let the states that have chosen to participate and those who may still be considering, the dashboard is getting lots of good use. Kevin provides a weekly update on Monday as to who has accessed this dashboard. And I'd just quickly estimate probably 20 federal representatives from the CDC, from FEMA, from HHS are looking at the dashboard on a regular basis, so multiple views per week. Also, the dashboard has been added to a special kind of a dashboard that's been developed by the EMS pre-hospital team that's part of the FEMA Health Systems Resilience Task Force. Dr. John Kramer, who leads the Office of EMS and works very closely with us, and NEMSIS is the team lead for the EMS pre-hospital team. They've put together a dashboard that provides a kind of an overview of the COVID impact on pre-hospital care. It's called EMS by the Numbers. And it has information in there from the National Fire Incident Reporting System and then also NEMSIS. Anyway, the dashboard that Kevin was just showing you, that's available on that dashboard with a link that provides a daily update as to what's happening in regards to influenza-like illness calls. And as you can see, as Kevin indicated to you, the number is falling. They're very interested in that. They're paying particular attention to this dashboard. So again, just thank you for everyone who kind of stepped outside the boundaries of security and confidentiality to allow this to be provided to federal partners. I think it's been incredibly valuable. Thanks, Julianne. And if there's any states that still want to participate, we would love to continue to work with you. If you have any concerns about how the data is being used, please just let us know and we'd be happy to talk you through that.
Are there any questions about the ILI dashboard or any feedback from states or federal partners that have been able to utilize the dashboard? Okay. Clay, you've got the next topic as well for alternate destination.
All right. Happy to cover that. Julianne, could you go ahead? You probably have that little table that you built that was
Sure.
important. Yeah, it was very helpful. So just one quick sentence of background. I'm sure everybody knows this. The Trump administration has opened a number of temporary regulatory waivers. The one that we want to talk about now is the one referred to as CMS Hospital Without Walls. So this is the opportunity for EMS to be reimbursed for taking a patient with influenza-like symptoms, COVID-like symptoms to a alternate care site. We want to ensure that the NEMSIS standard can provide some kind of standardization for how we're going to handle this temporary waiver. We put out a request late last week for folks to indicate to us what states are planning to do in regards to extending the values that are available in e-disposition 21 and also in D Facility 1, and adding additional elements that would allow them to capture that idea. And as you can see from the states that responded, lots of folks are going to be using, lots of states, the actual term that's talked about in the CDC documentation is alternate care sites. That clearly has specific meaning during this temporary regulatory waiver. It also can be used for other purposes. It's probably a good value for us to add as a national custom element right now for e-disposition 21. And then there's a couple of other terms that are being used and added. You see responses there from states, from vendors, and even from EMS agencies that are using slightly different terminology. Clearly not a lot of people are listed here, not a lot of states. Are there other states or vendors that want to quickly pipe up that are planning to use any of these terms under the CMS Hospital Without Walls expansion? So other states, vendors, or EMS agencies, are there other terms that aren't captured here? Or if you're going to be utilizing one of these terms, let us know, and that will help us determine a consensus. Any thoughts at all?
Hey, Clay, I know that in Florida, we already have a destination under e-disposition 01 to capture other. And then based on the address that they give us for that other place, we would know where exactly the patient was taken to. And I don't, in e-disposition 21, we wouldn't have anything to designate alternate or other, but within the actual place, we would have other.
Understood. That makes good sense, Juan. Thank you. Other states?
Michigan does something similar to what Florida does. We have a number of alternate generic destination codes that we use.
Okay, Kevin, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Clay, this is Brian in Virginia. We do exactly the same thing. We have a series of generic destination codes that we use for non-hospital locations.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Other states or maybe other vendors who've been asked to add probably not these generic destination codes that are being used and associated with state level values. But if anyone's making some changes or requesting some changes to e-disposition 21, probably. Okay, well, yeah, thank you. Perhaps we've already captured the bulk of what folks are doing. I think we're fairly clear here at the NEMSIS TAC that we'll be adding a national custom value for e-disposition 21 of alternate care sites as part of the COVID response. Any concerns about that?
Hi, Clay. This is Samantha with VSO. I just wanted to confirm that NEMSIS is going to add these additional alternate care sites as custom elements. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, we're gonna. I think what we're discussing, and we'll take the comments from this call back to the Office of EMS and confirm that the idea would be to add a custom value called alternate care sites to e-disposition 21.
Okay.
And to D-facility 01.
Okay, but not the field hospital or temporary facility or temporary field hospital.
No, wanna talk about those now if we could. Clearly we have a couple of indications here that they have some limited use, and so just again, if there's a need. The telemedicine is a little bit different. Hopefully we can cover that perhaps in the next discussion, because it kind of deals a little bit with the idea of telemedicine and treatment in place as a larger issue and kind of associated with ET3. So maybe if folks feel strongly about adding terms like temporary expansion site or temporary facility, temporary field hospital. It sounds like many states they have generic destination codes that they're using for those. Those could all link back to a value in e-disposition 21 of alternate care sites.
Yeah, no, I like alternate care sites. I don't really like the idea of the temporary ones permanently in the data set.
Thanks, Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think we'll take that recommendation to the Office of EMS today. See, we will try to add this code, I think, this week if we possibly can, trying to remain as responsive as we can during this COVID outbreaks. We'll try to complete that work, and we'll let folks know either through the DMC listserv or through the NEMSIS Google group. All right. I think I also have the next topic. Is that correct, Julianne?
Yep, it's still you.
Okay, great. And this is the idea that there's interest in including, related to this and to the COVID outbreak, this idea of having the ability to indicate kind of a treatment in place or a telemedicine code. Julianne indicated that Arizona is adding such a code. We are working very closely with the ET3 project, and they are adding such a code for the ET3 project to both e-disposition 21, and they're proposing a code be added to e-disposition 12 too as custom values. National custom values that could be rolled up. So wanted to talk about this independently, but maybe if it's possible, I'll put Eric on the spot, Mr. Eric Chaney from the Office of EMS. Gosh, I know him and Dr. Kramer have been working incredibly hard, almost daily, with CMS, trying to hammer out how they'd like to handle some of the issues associated now with the idea of treatment in place. Eric, do you have any update in regards to any progress that's been made in regards to coming up with a standard approach with CMS?
So if you haven't heard, ET3 was moved back. There's no definitive date. What we were told is fall. So I don't have any more information than that. I speak with Carly Bird, who's our POC for that particular project, weekly. We are talking with CMS almost daily on a number of topics, but I'll just give you the real brief background on the telemedicine piece. There is and there was a bigger push. There is still a large push to develop a telemedicine program specifically for EMS. As many of you know, the big rate limiting factor or barrier in this is the reimbursement for treatment in place, which has been a barrier all along. We have cited that, documented that, and met with leadership up and down the CMS food chain to try to get that changed, and we'll continue to do that. There was some talk about why don't we just build it into ET3 and move it up, move ET3 up. That was a discussion. However, if we did that, it would really only apply to the 205 applicants who were selected to be a part of the ET3 process. So there was some challenges in doing that. There's also work to create ground ambulance services and allow them billing at as an originating site. That's another discussion that's being had. Waivers for the signatures in some cases is another discussion. And I guess the final one probably worth mentioning is, and this was a big part of the ET3 discussion as we rolled it out, or was discussing rolling it out, is the elimination of the video consult and just using, whether it's a telephone, a Skype, or whatever was available, because of the rural areas not having access to the connectivity that they need for video. So all of those things are going on. We realize, and Clay and I have had these discussions, that there's going to have to be some telemedicine data elements established. We realize that some of the things that we're proposing may change the way we're doing EMS today. We also realize it may have impact on the ET3 model that's already proposed. So it's a real shell game as to which one of these is going to cause the greatest impact. But I wanted to let you know what's going on in the background, so that may help if we talk about custom elements, or we talk about making a change or relaxing a requirement. It's because of those discussions and because of those things that we're trying to do with CMS currently. And I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone has on that topic.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that update. That's incredibly helpful. I think in regards to the idea, as Eric mentioned, this idea of ensuring that we can add some adequacies that help with the idea of telemedicine and the approach that ET3 will soon. I anticipate probably in the next 3 weeks they'll release the codes that they want to use for ET3. So I want to be careful not to add a telemedicine or treatment in place value associated with the COVID outbreak, only to have that very similar code defined slightly differently or something come out of ET3. So I think at a national level, unless someone has a real angst about this, we would probably just wait until the ET3 group has finalized their decisions. I can tell you right now, I would love to show this, but of course CMS just wants to make sure that if something's drafted, it's not distributed. So I have here in front of me what they plan to add as actual values, and I'll just state them to you. So under e-disposition 21, they're hoping to add a custom value for ET3 that's just called patient treated and released, treatment in place. And then same for e-disposition 12, a new value related to the patient treated and released, and just in parens telehealth. So those are coming down the pike. I don't think those values will change much. There's been lots of discussion about what these would look like. They're finalizing the wording associated with these, I think, this week and next. So I'm pretty confident that these will be out very soon as a whole new set of elements associated with ET3. So unless there's strong concern about just waiting until we have a firm idea as to what ET3 wants to do with the idea of treatment in place and telemedicine, we'll just wait until those values come out. Is there any concern with that?
The only concern would be, have you considered version 3.5 and how those would be affected, version 3.5?
Yeah, Juan, that's a great question. We're clearly kicking that around here as to there's just associated with the changes that we've made associated with the COVID outbreak and the new regulations that have come down through CMS, unrelated to COVID and related to COVID. There'll probably be some attributes of these temporary guidelines that are coming out from CMS that will become law, right? So how long do we wait and use these custom value sets instead of just making a change to the standard? So that's top of our minds, Juan. I'm not exactly sure what will kind of fall out of this. I think the Office of EMS would like to get a couple of more weeks down the pike to kind of figure out what's going to be happening with this in regards to reopening and the possibility of this just becoming, a seasonal cyclical way of life before making decisions regarding making some permanent changes. So one, I think that's in the queue for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the biggest issue would be how we're breaking up e-disposition 12.
Yeah.
And how that would be affected by.
Exactly. Any other thoughts or concerns? All right, fantastic. Thank you for your time, and I will turn it back to you, Julianne.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda is Josh with performance measures. I'm going to go ahead and stop share so you can take the screen, Josh.
Great, thank you. Just a second here. Okay, that should bring up the website. All right, just another update on the performance measure web service. We have released one more measure in that web service. You can get the documentation by going to the technical resources menu and then web services. Scroll down to the bottom of that page and you'll find the links for the performance measures API. Taking a look at the measure definitions, we'll bring up this page, and here is the measure that has been added in the last few days, seizure-02, patient with status epilepticus receiving intervention. So this is looking at how often someone who had an impression of epilepsy with status epilepticus received one of these medications. This is implementing the NEMSIS definition. The NEMSIS definition, the link to that package is included here. Was last updated in February of this year. So if you have implemented this measure, you might want to just double check that you are up to the latest version of it. The recent change that they made was in the pattern for identifying epilepsy that had status epilepticus. This pattern includes some more ICD-10 codes that it did not include in the past. So it's it captures a little more completely. So again, if you've implemented this in your systems, make sure you're up to date with the latest definition from NEMSCA. And then you can go ahead and use the web service that NEMSIS provides. There's the WSDL right there to grab data for seizure-02, as well as all of the other performance measures that have been implemented so far. So here's our current list of the performance measures that have been implemented to date. So every so often, we will have a new one coming out being added to this list. I'll just mention there is also a Tableau dashboard that shows these performance measures. And the performance measure data for seizure-02 was added early this week. This dashboard refreshes weekly. So within the next few days, seizure-02 will show up on this list. It's just not there quite yet until this dashboard refreshes its data source. So that'll happen in the next few days. So that's the performance measures update. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, if it's all right, I'll just move on. I think I have the next one with the Schematron update. So the latest 3.4 National Schematron rules that were published on March 20th, they're available through the Schematron page of the website, of course also in the National Public Git repository. And those schemas were successfully deployed in the National EMS database last week. So that has been done, and it's now open for states to deploy these at the state level. Once it's been deployed at the state level, then agencies within the state should go ahead and update at the local agency level. I'll again reiterate that these schemas are largely the same as the ones before in terms of their validation effects, but it's just the kind of the architecture, the architectural approach that changed. However, there are a few errors that were changed to warnings or warnings that were removed because they didn't deal with national elements. So overall, these new schemas are slightly more lax than the previous ones, which is why we're recommending implementation or rollout from the top down, national, then state, then local. And again, you can get all the detailed changes here in this Excel spreadsheet, the 2020 Schematron changes. Are there any questions on this Schematron update?
I know the last week or the last meeting we discussed, how do we, the states, let the vendors know in a common place or one location so the vendors know what Schematron we're on? And we talked maybe about doing a spreadsheet or indicating somewhere on the NEMSIS site where we have our state information, which version of Schematron we're on.
Yeah, Clay or Julianne, do you have an update on that effort?
Yeah, we've discussed that. Thank you, Juan. I appreciate the reminder. Things have been a little bit crazy. We'll get back on that and see if we can identify a common place. We have discussed it at some length, and so I'll make sure that we make some progress this week. Thanks, Juan.
There was also a question from Elizabeth from Golden Hour in the chat. Will this also be reflected in the online data dictionary, the associated validation rules? The Schematron validation rules are integrated into the data dictionary for NEMSIS 3.5, but they are not integrated into the data dictionary for NEMSIS 3.4. And this is an update to the 3.4 rules. Okay, thanks. Oh, looks like there's one more. Oh, no, okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, I see. Yeah, Elizabeth said it would be useful to have them in 3.4 as well. I know there's been a little discussion about possibly rebuilding the 3.4 data dictionary. And I'm not sure if Clay or Julianne or Laurel has any info on how far that discussion has gone.
Yeah, no, again, that's been on our short list of things to consider, but we haven't made some progress in that regard.
Okay. Okay, thanks. That's it from me.
All right, any other questions for Josh while we've got him? Okay. I just want to take a minute and show you the release timeline has been adjusted a little bit to reflect the delay in rolling out 3.5. There was some discussion on that for the last few NEMSIS V3 calls, as our vendors have been so highly focused on being responsive to the needs of EMS agencies during COVID. So if you go to our main website, this is still on that front page, the release timeline. And this is available on PDF. There's a link down at the bottom, but we just want to make everybody aware that we have pushed out by 6 months the expectation for broad market availability of software compliant with the 3.5 standard, and also a majority implementation of the 3.5 standard. So broad market availability pushed to August of 2021, and majority implementation pushed to July 2022. This does not affect any of the sunset dates for 3.3.4 or 3.4. We just want to make sure that everybody is supported in all of the changes that have had to occur these last few months in the rapid response to the COVID issue. Are there any questions about these two dates being pushed out 6 months? Okay.
Hey, Julianne, this is Clay. Maybe
Yeah.
one related issue we'll just cover, and that is the timing of our V3 implementation meeting. Did we have that on the agenda, Julianne, or is it okay to
Oh,
share?
throw it in there. I did not add it to the agenda, but we certainly need to bring it up. Thank you.
Right, yeah, so we had planned our traditional annual meeting to be August 23rd through 25th. We had not made any modifications to that date, just with the idea of hoping that it could still occur on those dates, and we would be clear to do that. We have run into a little bit of a wrinkle in that NEMSIS has had to move their annual meeting, their spring meeting, into the fall, and now it occurs the very next week after the V3 implementation meeting as currently planned. So really there's only like 3 or 4 business days that exist between the two meetings, and that may be difficult for data managers and for some vendors. So we've been talking to NEMSIS about how we might be able to partner in some way between the two meetings. And I know Eric has been working with NEMSIS and DIA trying to figure out some way that we might be able to partner there. I think those discussions are ongoing, so we'll keep this group right up to date in regards to what happens to the V3 implementation meeting and what happens to the NEMSIS meeting to make sure that both are successful. Eric, is there anything more you have to add in regards to that topic from the Office of EMS?
No, sir. Just that we have had the discussions about how we can work together and combine the meetings and what the best location and timing and everything would be. So, like you said, more to come.
Thank you, Eric. All right, thank you, Julianne.
Yes. Any questions on the timeline or shifting, being aware of the conflicting dates for conferences in the fall? Any other conflicts that you guys are aware of that are being pushed into fall dates?
I have a question. This is Brody from Medusa. Just wondering, I know the requirement has been to have folks on site for the meeting. Given the current situation, is that going to be lifted where people can join remotely if they're concerned about travel?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's part of the ongoing discussions. We just thank everyone for their patience. We are working through that, Brody. That's a great question. I'm just not exactly sure how that's going to work out, but yeah, we certainly need to make this process that we have kind of put in place doable and workable for folks. And so we'll make sure that happens. Brody, thanks for the question.
Hey, this is Eric. I'll reiterate, no one is going to be penalized because they don't attend a meeting in person out of fear or concern for their health or safety. I can guarantee you that. I mean, we're assuming that in August, both NEMSIS and us are going to have a successful on-site meeting. And quite frankly, that may not be possible for either one of us. So at this point, we're moving ahead as if that's going to happen, but we're moving ahead cautiously, and we'll give you as much notice as we possibly can. But I can assure you that you will not be penalized for not attending.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Eric, that brings us back to you again. If there's anything else in addition that you'd like to bring up and share with the group from OEMS?
Sure, just a couple things. One, thanks to everyone who has been responding to data requests or requests from your state when we were asked for something from leadership at the NRCC. We really appreciate your timely response. A big special thanks to both ESO and NHTSA for working with Palantir, who's the data integrator at the NRCC, especially on the PPE topic. That subject is still part of every discussion that goes on in every meeting as a part of the NRCC. So we really appreciate their time and efforts. The one thing I want to lead into, and this is just a very high level at this point, opening discussion on the topic. Back before COVID was thought about, when I was working with the TAC to set up the contract for this year, we built in 2 specific advisory boards to sort of help shape what NEMSIS should look like. And my idea at the time was an internal and external board that was comprised of 10, no more than a dozen people from different aspects of hospital, pre-hospital care, and some from the healthcare, but not necessarily knowledgeable in EMS. Maybe technology-oriented individuals, like a representative from Amazon or Microsoft or someone like that, especially on that external advisory board. It's been interesting as this COVID thing has evolved. It just draws me more to the need to do something like this, to figure out what should NEMSIS look like in the future moving forward. So you're going to hear more about the development of these 2 advisory boards, and I'll give you just a very high level. The external advisory board is looking at things like integration and harmonization of NEMSIS data at a strategic level, at a national level, hosting automation and coordination, AI. What are some of the big things that we should be looking at? This is very important to me because if you're not aware how federal budgets work, we're budgeting right now in 2020, 22 and 23. And if you want to get funding, you're thinking 3 years out. So I've tried to look at that from an external perspective, and we've talked about some of the participation and makeup of these groups, and you'll hear more about that as time goes on. The internal advisory board, data quality clarity, that was in the strategic plan that was done in late 2017, looking at the efficiency of the collection process. I think this board's already looked at things like other data elements we're collecting that we shouldn't be collecting anymore. They made sense when we put them in, but they don't make sense now. And that's heavily working with the vendors and then some of the national organizations to help shape that. And one other piece that plays into that, and it will impact everybody, but not at the onset, is the merger. So right now we're in the process of very, very early stages of identifying a plan to migrate data from the University of Utah into the .gov environment. This is at the direction of the White House. We're on a particular list of websites and a particular list of data sets that are government sponsored, government owned, but not in a government environment. So we're building out what we think is the plan and process and cost for all that. So you'll hear more about that as it goes along, but that's something that's certainly done in coordination with these two groups. So some very high level strategic things going on that I wanted to make you aware of so that you realize it's not all COVID all the time. And we're not just trying to focus on custom elements. Those three things are going to be taking up a significant portion of time as we move into the fall. So I'll keep you posted on all of those. One other thing is the STE, we met with them last month to talk about opioid exposures, and I think they're at a point where they may be going to suggest some standardized custom elements. We haven't talked with them about that other than to have the discussion of what's out there and what's been done. I know that the CDC funding that was put out, a lot of people are way down the road on this. So we'll be having a lot more discussions about that as we move forward too. Those are just some of the projects that are non-COVID projects that are circling around. But as I said, the advisory boards are very important to me in the planning process of moving NEMSIS as a whole forward, and the migration from the University of Utah data center to a federal AWS DOT sanctioned data center are going to be pretty significant moves for us. And then at some point, NEMSIS.org would be a NEMSIS.gov site. So nothing's going to happen. I would dare say that that's not going to be completed in the next 18 to 24 months is probably a reasonable timeline. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, or if anyone has any questions or concerns to share with me about NEMSIS in general, I'd be happy to listen.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. As always, if you think of questions, concerns, comments that you weren't able to share on the call, please feel free to reach out to any of us at the Technical Assistance Center. We're happy to take your questions and concerns and comments. The feedback that we receive from all of our stakeholders is extremely valuable to us, and we really appreciate that. Anything for open forum? We know you all are extremely busy with all of the demands for your for your time and your expertise. We really appreciate you being on the call with us this morning. Our next meetings will be May 13th, May 27th, same time, same place. Please look for those invitations to come through Google Group and the DMC listserv. All right, we do have one question in the chat. How will these changes be implemented into the 3.5 release? This is from Elizabeth. Clay, do you want to address that for just a sec?
Yeah, this was a similar question raised by Juan. Clearly, we're keeping an eye to this, and we'll determine whether or not several of these changes that have been made just during this time period will be appropriate to include in the 3.5 release. Those decisions are probably down the road a couple, 3 weeks.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right, we'll bring this call to its conclusion. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Thank you for your input. Thank you to the vendors in the states for being so responsive and flexible to adjustments that have had to be made over the last few months. We really appreciate your time and your talents. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a terrific day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.